If you're watching this video, that means we've all survived, or at least you have, to the year 2021. Welcome back to GBGuns. Got the new Stag 10. Want to show off? Stag's made some changes, some pretty big ones actually, to themselves and to the firearm. I've got my old Stag 10 here as well for some comparison, and that's what we're taking a look at next on GBGuns. So those of you familiar with Stag arms, and if you've been following the channel for any length of time, you should be, know that a couple things are different here. The logo is different, and that says Cheyenne, Wyoming, not Connecticut. Stag Arms decided to move to the free United States and leave behind a state government that was hostile to business and hostile to the Second Amendment, and move to probably one of the best places out there for the firearms industry and for America, Wyoming. So in doing that, that means, of course, changing some staff. It means, of course, changing some machines, things like that. Sort of a rebirth to the company. And this rifle, being released January 19th, so you're watching this at least after January 19th, is an example of the new Stag. I've been a fan of Stag arms here at GBGuns ever since I first shot one. The older Stag 10S, this guy here, with a well-soiled bolt and some fatigue to it, is a rock star of an AR-10. Yeah, DPMS, LR308, all of those different names for round cut, angle cut. I call them all AR-10s because they are an AR platform and they shoot 308 or 7.6251. Regardless, I took this Stag 10 to a 4-day carbine course where everyone else was shooting 5.56, and while they pew-pewed, I thumped. Everything from ready-up drill, double taps from 5 yards out to 200 yards, supported, unsupported, all that kind of stuff. It was a carbine fighting course, and I ran this beastly guy because I had faith in it. And until this rifle, and also some other experiences, I'd always been told, yeah, AR-10s just aren't reliable, you can't really trust them. And this guy had a nice light weight. I did modify it with one of these very squishy adaptive tactical stocks, and I changed the grip. I put a VG6 brake on here. I don't recall if I did this or if it was factory, but this is how I ran it. Oh, and I needed to add a QD point since slings were required at the course. But you can see this is an older design, the bigger diameter handguards, all of that. But this thing made it through the course, and aside from learning a lot about AR-10 magazines, which ones to trust and which ones not to, no issues with the gun, and I was able to keep right up there, although the guys next to me on the firing line probably didn't appreciate the thunder from 308 as much as I did. So this is the older one, and you can see there's their old logo and New Britain, Connecticut marked on there. Loved the large flared Magwell, quite a flaring to it, and it overall just handled and felt like an AR-15 that was slightly oversized. Here's the new Stag that we're going to be taking a look at. I'm going to start off at the back end and we'll make our way forward after I separate the upper and lower to make things a little easier to get on camera. So starting at the stock, we've got an MOE SL5 stock that has a butt pad to it that wouldn't necessarily be giving, but definitely applies some traction. The lever for adjusting being tucked out of the way so it's not going to be bumped when you grab the gun or if you're shooting from a bench. I've never had that happen to me, but I have heard complaints about folks with the older style stocks where once they're shooting on a bench and they get their hand up underneath there, it depresses the lever, they fire, and it sends the gun straight back into its tube. But adjustable stock, nice touch there. You can see the castle nut is heavily staked, and one thing I appreciate, although in this one it came far from threaded enough to do anything, a little green dot down in there is a screw that you remove the grip to thread up, but it helps apply pressure to the rear lug on the upper receiver to make for a tighter fit. Some folks like that. I think it's a nice option to have. We've got a GI style trigger, slightly enlarged trigger guard, but most importantly it's a smooth transition here, so no patrol knuckle to be had, especially important on a heavier gun like an AR-10. Magpul MOE grip, and you can see though the markings have changed, we kept that massive flaring funnel of a Magwell. This is one of the few factory Magwells that I think actually helps. There's a lot of them you see where it looks fatter on the exterior of the receiver, but then once you look in here, there's not much of a funnel, but you can see there's a lot of funnel there to help guide those big mags in. Flipping over to the other side, we have the logo there as well. Sharp refreshing of the Stag logo. Looks still applicable to hunters, but it also looks like something for the non-hunters as well, whereas the old one was kind of a classic hunter feel to it. You can see all the controls are basically standard. Let's take a look at that upper receiver. Here's where I noticed some immediate differences. Now this is not an S model, so it has an 18-inch barrel, whereas my S had a 16-inch barrel, and also has a different profile. But you can see that our carrier is beautifully melanited. I appreciate that, since melanite actually changes the hardness of the surface of the metal. It changes the metal rather than coating the metal, so to speak. The only way to remove it is to remove metal. But it's super slick and makes for cleaning to be a lot easier, also reduces friction. See, our upper receiver has the T-marks, standard charging handle, and this updated handguard. It's not only slimmer in diameter, but has QD points integrated into it, which is nice, saving you from the need to go add something to all of this M-lock. And we have a VG6 Gamma muzzle brake on the end. Like I said, I've run this one on my other Stag. Great brake, very effective. But check out that barrel profile. This is their heavy barrel, and it has got some beef. But it nicely contours down to the gas block, and then a little lighter out on the end. For those of you newer to this stuff, the benefit of a heavy barrel is extra rigidity, meaning less whip, which can help with accuracy. But the biggest one is heat capacity. It takes longer for the thicker barrel to heat up, so you maintain the same point of impact longer without hot barrel messing with your accuracy. We will test that doing our cold barrel hot barrel test, which has been interesting in the past to see. It's not necessarily a pass-fail kind of test so much as it is just to see what you can expect if you heat up your barrel. If I can, wow, bent my dental tool, that is in there. I'm going to get this pin out, and we're going to take a look at this bolt and carrier. That's too big. Just a moment while I find that thing out. Turned out it was easier to push from the backside to get it started. So while I strip this, you might be wondering why I'm a fan of the AR-10 and 308 option of ARs. One, I kind of like the recoil. It's a nice heavy thump that pushes, kind of akin to the way a 45 ACP pistol gives you a push versus the snap of 9mm. I appreciate the push and the thump. The other one is, if I'm going to use a fighting rifle, at any distance that I'd be shooting, I want to deliver more energy, and 308 does that. It may not be the long-range king, it may not be the lightweight king, but it's readily available, been produced for a long time with a lot of different load variants, so it's easy enough to find the right load for what you want to do, and it's fun to shoot. The carrier is I mean, you can't tell by looking at it, maybe, but it is smooth, slick. This is like touching a fresh marble countertop. Very nicely done. See, our staking runs down into the threads without crushing the bolts. Speaking of bolts, the bolt face, you can tell this was test fired. Also nicely melanited. And we'll take a look at our extractor. The pin was also in there pretty tight. And you can see we've got the rubber bumper on the outside there that helps prolong the life of things. Quite a bit of oil in here. Let me dab this up. So with this being a heavier build, gotta save my bench, right? It's probably going to be a great bench gun, which of course is where the testing happens. It's kind of unfair if you think about it to some of the lighter builds that are maybe great for running gun setups, but not so great at the bench, that accuracy testing always happens at a bench. But with this heavy barrel, it is a 1 in 10 twist and marked Stag arms, so it's their own branded barrel. Looking forward to seeing what we get. I'm going to need to do this off camera to push down. This is one of the challenges you get when you have those bumpers there, is that it's a tight fit and needs some leverage that is sometimes difficult to do with a tripod and camera in front of you and you're reaching underneath the camera. Alright, and we're back. Just needed a mallet to get that pin in there. I just didn't have the hand strength to squeeze on the extractor enough, while also pushing that pin through. But anyways, the AR-10 is indeed a personal favorite of mine. I'm looking forward to taking this out there. We'll do, of course, our trademarked What's for Dinner test and see what loads it likes best with 1 in 10 twist. I'm assuming a 168 grain will do the trick, but you never know. It seems each rifle, each barrel has its preference, and that's why we always test well within and well without the normal range of what most folks would want to or would consider as the best option for their particular barrel. Hopefully you guys find those tests educational and informative and helpful, since ammo ain't cheap, and so finding the right ammo for your gun is not as fun of a process as it used to be. So this is the new Stag 10. You've seen us run the old Stag 10 in several videos, and like I said, it was reliable and kept me trucking on through the front sight 4-day carbine course. The only real catch that I found was magazines. My Magpul quit, my Pro Mag quit. I took 4 different brands, and by the end of the course, the C Products Duramag was the only mag still running and still reliable. It is of course steel, and shoving steel into aluminum magwells rapidly over and over again is why you see the magwell on my gun is a little beat up, but still works. So we'll see how this does soon, and hopefully have that video out to you. Let me know what your thoughts are on the AR-10, SR-25, LR-308, whatever you want to call it, AR pattern 308 rifles. They are heavier, they are more expensive to feed. I, however, find them to be quite worth it. And as of the time when I'm filming this, which is in December of 2020, right now 308 ammo really isn't that much more expensive than 5.56, and is a little more available and lets you throw out quite a bit of punch. Thanks for watching.